All right, welcome back to the Hennhouse podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Henn. This is episode 9, and today we are joined by Aric Whiteley from Lockhern Digital. Aric, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Tyler.
Yeah, man. It's going to be a really cool conversation. You guys are a marketing agency specializing in paid advertising, but also doing some SEO, trying to show up in LLMs and kind of everything else that encompasses that. Just go ahead and kind of give a little rundown of what all you guys do and where you came from and how you got here.
Sure. We specialize and grew up in the paid search arena. My co-founders and I all lived in New York City. We did the big agency circuit. And about after 7 or so years of that, we started our own agency, really just from zero, from the ground up, really leaned into our skill set on paid search. And then over time, we've been in business for about 7 years now. We've started to bolt on additional services such as SEO, paid social, Google Business Profile optimization, and a few ancillary services. But we've grown from 3 co-founders to about 12 full-time employees now. So we're definitely growing, and every year seems to be our best. Every year for the last 2 years. So we're feeling really great about it.
That's an exciting place to be, right? You started as a freelancer, is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. So my story was I worked at an agency in New York City, met a bunch of people. There was a few individuals that turned me on to freelancing, contracting. They put me in touch with people who needed services. I started moonlighting after work and kind of just managing these accounts, just like I would normally do in my day-to-day. Eventually, I was like, well, the ceiling is so much higher on my freelancing. Maybe I should go that route. So around 2019, I left my agency job, went all in on freelancing, and just by happenstance connected with my co-founder, who was also doing the same thing. We joined forces and essentially grew that way. So it was very kismet and really cool. We both were working at Horizon Media. We both left, both went to different agencies, and we both left those agencies and started our own practice. So very, very similar, and it was amazing. So yeah, we really just grassroots freelancer to agency.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Okay, so there wasn't really like a main turning point that was like, okay, I'm like not happy what I'm doing. I'm gonna like try to do this thing. It was kind of just saw a higher ceiling in freelancing, and then it just kind of slowly evolved with the co-founders coming on into an agency.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me personally, there's a lot of factors. There's both like the monetary aspect of it was I think I saw like, well, if I had 40 hours, if I'm making this much, spending 10 hours a week, what if I had 40 hours a week? I could scale that up pretty substantially. But not only that, I think I'm sort of built I work best like under pressure, and I work best kind of without restrictions. In big agency land, that's not as feasible. So you have like a lot of structure, understandably so. I would love to get Lockhern to that place, because that means we've grown substantially. But I think for me, I feel like very suppressed if I can only go, to a certain point and then I hit a blockade. I realized very quickly that when you're a freelancer, you don't have those. You can go as far as you want. And I think part of the reason we've had success is because there's nothing I won't do for my clients, like whether it's a tracking issue or they're like, hey, we want to roll out this new channel. We've never used it before. And I've never used it. It's like, okay, well, I can handle that for you. So historically, it's like if a client came to me and was like, hey, we really want to roll out this social program or something, and I'm doing paid search at the big agency, I'd have to be like, hey, I have to pass you to another department. But for me, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Let's just get our hands dirty. And that's how I develop my skill sets on social, SEO, web design. So I really got addicted to that, being able to somewhat create your own luck, create your own fate. And I think about this quite often. Like, I don't know if I could ever go back unless I absolutely had to. Never say never, but I have a hard time like thinking I would be able to go back into a big agency like that.
Yeah, I feel that too for sure. Okay, so you guys are 12 people. How focused on like particular things is each of those 12 people, or do you guys all kind of have your hands in all the baskets?
Great question. We do our best to create departments and segmentation. As we've learned very quickly at our stage, so we're still very small, but growing, is that it's always all hands on deck type of situation, even if we're asking people to do things outside of their discipline. So what I mean by that is we have three main services, as I mentioned: paid search, paid social, and SEO, not in that order.
Mm-hmm.
In some cases, our social department might need help. So maybe I'll jump in, or, we'll tap somebody else or bring in, additional. So we very much operate as a cohesive unit, but generally speaking, 90% of their day is focused on their specific like pod of accounts. We kind of assign people accounts. I think for us right now at our stage, there's a lot of accountability on the individual, because we don't have account managers. We don't have like brand teams. We don't have like client success people. We don't have that. We are that. So what I think is attractive right now in this particular market, or at least the SMBs that we're going after, is when you are able to speak to the person who's doing the work. It's speaking right to the mechanic versus speaking to the sales manager, right? Or something like that. You're talking right to those individuals. And in some cases at our stage, that's a huge advantage, because a lot of the individuals that we work with want to hear the nuts and bolts. They want to understand it so they can communicate it and defend their decisions, versus someone who's kind of more broadly educated and trying to translate for them. So we keep them pretty like vertically aligned. So it's like, hey, this is your person. They're going to be your main point of contact. In between that, we do have some team leadership involved. We have one person that basically kind of oversees the accounts and does kind of add a little bit more, but they come from the paid search or like the digital marketing side, and they've done everything under the sun. So they can really talk to the nuts and bolts as well, but there's no fluff here.
So I am it's basically just me right now at my agency, and I've got somewhere, I would say probably like 18 accounts right now across like all the different websites and stuff that I'm doing. Probably 15 of those are getting SEO. And so I'm managing a lot in my head. And so one thing that I'm working on right now is bringing somebody on. Kind of, they'll be an employee, but they're offshore. But I have it's a family member, so I have a very good relationship with them and trust them. And so I'm trying to, like we kind of just talked about, figure out what things can I give him without overwhelming him, and what things do I want to continue working on. The last podcast episode was with a guy named Louis Swart, and he helps a lot with delegation, and he helps with hiring the right VAs to do certain tasks for you. And one question that he asked me, I kind of asked him the same thing I'm about to ask you, is what are the things that I do every day that give me energy, that I want to roll out of bed and do? And what are the things that take away my energy and that I dread even the thought of doing? And those are the things that I should hire out for, or delegate, or get VAs for. And so what I'm hiring this guy to do is somewhere in the middle. It's more of like the ongoing SEO analysis and optimization, so that I can go out to more networking meetings and focus on client acquisition, client relations, and the high level stuff, like creating the actual website initially, doing the initial implementation, and then just not having to necessarily be in the trenches reading all those graphs every month and making those changes that are necessary. Now, the question that this is a roundabout kind of thing, but my question is, what could a team of one learn from a team of 12? And what do you think your team of 12 has taken from that huge agency that you were at before, that has helped you kind of build out that structure and maybe some of the disciplines that you guys run by?
Sure. Well, thank you for that context. And I think you're thinking about it right. As a first time founder, I think we've made like a lot of mistakes. And I think one thing that was an aha moment for us as co-founders, we have three co-founders. Okay. So that's much different than a single co-founder. And what we've been able to do with three co-founders, which I view as an advantage, is this took a while to get here, if you can believe it. But over the last 2.5 to 3 years, we actually sat down in a room and said, this is what you're going to do. This is your guardrail. This is your lane. This is your lane. And this is your lane. So historically, we all had opinions about everything. Like, oh, you don't do that. Don't do that sales, or don't do that pitch, or do this strategy, do this execution, whatever it is. No, that report sucks. Now, that first of all slowed down progress and made it extremely difficult to operate the business efficiently. So now what we do is we just kind of put those into like guardrails and swim lanes. So for us, I'm able to communicate effectively to my leadership team and say, here's on my like monthly basis, here's where I spent the majority of my time, or here's the things that I was doing, and here's the things that I shouldn't be doing. Like I'm spending way too much time on X, Y, and Z. That's pulling away from the business and my ability to help streamline and operationalize the business, which is basically my responsibility. For context, my job here is to make sure that the team is supported, that we are staffed properly, and that I'm creating a positive, efficient, easy to work in environment. So that means product development, that means reporting templatization, strategy templatization, or strategy input. I'm trying to make it very easy to execute on things at scale. So I think when we've gotten to this point is we started doing exactly what you're saying is, hey, like I notice I'm working on too much of this account work. I'm spending so much of my time preparing for these reports, right, that are weekly or biweekly. Half the times the reports are wrong. I have to QA, then I have to put the insights, and then I have to communicate it, and then I have to make the action items for it, and then I have to go deliver it. It's just this roundabout circle that it becomes really hard to scale. So over time, first thing is first is that you have to like your point, identify what you like and what you don't. The second thing is you have to find the right people to execute on those things. And I've been very transparent about this. We fire fast here. We hire slow and fire fast. It's very hard at our stage to grow this company with the way that we want to grow, the speed. So you have to find people who are basically ready to jump on a running treadmill at 40 miles an hour and be able to deliver quite quickly. And we set those expectations. So I think having somebody that you can actually trust, somebody who wants to learn, who has some level of passion. You don't have to absolutely wake up and just be like, walking on rainbows to go to your job. But you have to love it a little bit, right? You have to go in there and be like, I really want to do this really good job today, or I want to learn something new, or I want to kill it on this call. Like you have to like wake up and want to do that versus like, oh, I just don't want to get on this call. Of course, we'll have those days. So I think this the twofold is like figure out what things need to be delegated, but also who to delegate them to and have some level of trust in that person, because you might get to the first part, right? And you're like, I don't want to do any of this. I need to delegate it out. But that only works if you have someone that you can trust to delegate it out to. And that's where we saw the biggest struggle. It wasn't necessarily the what, it was the who. And now we've gotten to a place after careful, probably interviewing maybe 1,000 people over the course of these last 7 years. I don't know, maybe 500 or something, something outrageous. I know it's that much. Now we've gotten to a place where we start to figure out, okay, who are the type of people at our stage that are going to be able to jump in here and actually do what we need to do quickly and effectively. Does that make sense, Tyler?
Yeah, it makes sense. Can you give an example of a time that you had to fire fast? Like what was the reason for that and the cause and everything?
Yeah, there are many. Also, for the record, we are now fire fast, but eventually we were very much fire slow. I think first and foremost, I am a human being. Although my team might not necessarily always put me in that, I'm a little robotic. I might be a cyborg. I'm not quite sure. But the idea is I do have a heart, and I really, 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 the worst days in my life have definitely been, and professionally have been, when you have to let somebody go because they have, obligations and families, and they.
What took you from firing slow to firing fast? Like what was the
Sure.
what was the repeated like occurrence that you were like, okay, what we're doing now is not working and we need to switch to this fire fast kind of framework? And then kind of what does it look like for someone to need to be fired?
Sure. There's been a couple things. Number one is the second that we start having second thoughts is the first time you should let them go, especially in the first 30 days. So like our kind of barometer now is if there's a significant apprehension within the first 30 days, you cannot work here because it's never comes back. The second you start thinking about firing someone, you fire them. And that's pretty consistent. If you look that up, that's most people that manage a lot of people will say that. The thing that selfishly for me, the reason that we did that is because it tacks on so much additional mental and physical stress to try to continue to push this person and know that they're not going to make it, and then have this like overwhelming guilt and like this future thing that I know I have to do, but I don't want to do it. So for us, just to make it very, very like simple, it's a band-aid situation. It's like, hey, this is what happened. This is not acceptable at our company. Unfortunately, we're going to part ways at this point. We wish you the best of luck, and we just keep it as simple as that. So it ends up actually being way better for us selfishly, but also kind of for the candidate too, because now they're not being strung along. And at best, they were going to get like 2 or 3 more weeks too. It's like, is that really worth it? I'd rather have them go look for a new like role that's better suited for them.
Yeah. Do you find that you guys set expectations up front like strongly enough to where if that happens, they're not like completely taken aback? Or do you
Probably
guys
to a
have
fault. Yeah, we are
yeah.
extremely clear in every portion of the interview. Every single person that they go through, there's 3 co-founders and usually one more person, and we all tell them like this is not like if you're looking for a very safe, cushy place to be, this is absolutely not. Keep looking, and we look at little things too. People who are like coming out and like looking for a better work-life balance. Oh, I've been overworked too hard or something like that. And like, hey, listen, I get that. I don't want you to work hard, like overwork either. But that's not the stage the business is right now. You can go to a company that's more established, that has all that structure, that like kind of slows down the current. Do that. Just don't come here. That's not what you want. I know that's not what you
Hmm.
want, because when if our clients are struggling or if something's going wrong, whether it's 7 o'clock at night or maybe 9 a.m. on a Saturday, we need to at least be acknowledging that. Like there's no really off button when it comes to this business, and that's our advantage. That's what we sell. So it's just an opportunity, an occupational hazard here at Lockhern. So we look for those things, and we try to really give clear expectations and give examples of, hey, this is how we work. Is that what you want? Like, do you want that? Because if you
Hmm.
do, great. If you are even remotely apprehensive about joining a company that might be potentially overwhelming, intense, very like fast moving, don't continue. And we totally get that. And we've had people say, no, I really appreciate that. That's actually not what
Hmm.
I'm looking for. Great. Perfect. Go find what you want. I want you to be happy here.
Hmm. Yeah. Another thing that I'm starting to think about too, that I'm hoping maybe you can give some insight into as a 12-person company, is that you have to be priced at a certain level to obviously be able to afford to pay 12 people, right? And so I would assume that you guys are probably charging more than me. A balance that I'm trying to find now is, what do I need to be charging to be able to bring on that first onshore person full time? Because what I'm charging now can't sustain it. Like I wouldn't be able to pay my own bills if I had to pay someone like the salary that I assume I would probably have to pay somebody. So how do you decide like what to be charging with scaling your company in mind?
Okay, a couple of things here. That's actually been a point of conversation, I'll say, for between the co-founders. Pricing is always, it's just so variable and so nuanced. We don't sell a product with a set like cost of goods per se. We just sell time. So our time and capacity is what we sell essentially. So we are migrating just as very recently, within the last week, we're migrating to a better way of forecasting that out. But fundamentally, my co-founder Justin Ganella is the head of sales, and he will basically custom price out everything depending on a myriad of nuances. Like for instance, for if we have a client that's just doing one channel, that's a different price than if you have 3 channels. Also, what is your budget? How many calls are we having? Are you using an MMA? Like, are you using other additional tech partners? What's the point of contact? Are you doing Slack? What's the reporting? Like, what's your reporting expectations? Do you need monthly reports? Do you need QBRs? There's like this checklist of things that we kind of try to get out of them before we price something, because there's no one client is the same for us. And maybe that's true somewhere else, but that's why custom pricing for us works better, because we can kind of essentially at the highest level, we basically back into the hours that we think it's going to take based on the agency rate. And then we build retainers off of that. So we usually do build flat rate. We don't really do anything else. We don't really do percent of ad spend. We don't really do that. We just say, this is what we think it's going to take to manage your account. Here's our price. And then we negotiate from there. There are way more mathematical, scientific ways to approach that. For us, we've kind of felt we've had more success just by like kind of going on that model. So for you are at the toughest stage because you are literally going from doubling your workforce, right? You're going from 1 to 2.
Hmm.
And that's the hardest because of many reasons. Number one, capital is number one, but number two is the person. The first few people we hired, in the first like 2 or 3, like I think they lasted like 30 days at most. I think one person lasted like 2 days, and it's just really tough. So my advice to you would be definitely look at your pricing model, figure out what you need to what you would need to pay somebody like in a full-time capacity if that's what you need, which sounds like you might not be quite there yet, but if you needed a full-time employee, figure out what that cost is, back that into your current pricing model, adjust for it, and then just start redelivering your price, your cost. One thing I would say is we have tried and failed almost every time on just like obscurely raising prices. So we don't typically do that ever. So once we get into a price, that's the price unless something specifically changes, meaning like a channel or some sort of scope of work changes in a significant way. Like I wouldn't necessarily suggest like, hey, all of your clients right now, like, hey, just FYI, as of January 1st, you're going to increase by $500 or something, or you're gonna. I definitely we've tried that. I would definitely not recommend that. Not that that was something you were thinking about, but just something that I remember early on. We're like, oh, we'll just increase our prices once a year, and then that failed miserably. So don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I'm trying to do is raise the price of my services, like for newer clients that I'm trying to bring on. And my next question is going to be, it seems like you guys are probably just working with higher profile clients than I am too. Like a lot of my clients are more local small businesses, and I looked at the list on your website, and there was a couple on there that I was like, whoa, that's like pretty sweet, like Blueprint. That's the main one that's coming to mind because I watched a lot of Brian Johnson's stuff, and so I was like, that's pretty sweet. So I think part of the reason that I can't charge as much as I would like to is because of the people that I'm mostly selling to. So how can I look, like, what's the right place to look for maybe clients who are willing to pay more?
Sure. Well, I'll say two things. Number one is I don't necessarily always think that that's the end goal, and I'll say this because I think a lot of our what we've learned too is a lot of our services and the some of the easiest clients that stay the longest are some of the lowest paying, which means that the hours attributed to those are less, therefore the margin is higher. On some of the bigger clients, which has this big sexy price tag, but the stakes are higher, the intensity is higher. In some cases, not all. Sometimes bigger clients come with less of that. There's always nuance, but in general, for us, the bigger clients that we have actually are the least amount of margin that we make. So you might be getting to a circular kind of situation where you go after these bigger clients, you get some, and then you're like, oh my God, my life's way worse. The money looks better, but is it? So those two ways to think about it. Number one is you could go after those bigger deals and make sure that the margin makes sense based on what you can project your hours to be. But the second thing is just do more with less, meaning whatever you're spending the most time on, like if you can somehow make your scope reduce like the amount of hours that it takes you or your person to deliver on, but charge the same price, that's just as better and arguably probably a better way to do it because now you're just increasing your overall profitability and then you can use that to get further down. So that's kind of the method that we look at is like what's the if you can think about it at an account level or at a high level, is like what's the most simple, efficient, lowest scope that I can give that will give them the results that I've discussed without having to kill myself or really over deliver on this stuff. So I think a lot of people get trapped in that mindset. I need to get bigger clients, I need to get bigger. You just need to get better at being more efficient with the current book and then just build on top of that. That would be my suggestion because I believe that that's much, much easier to get efficient than it is to go and hire or get a new client. It's way harder to do that. And
Hmm.
a lot of times it's the devil you don't know versus the devil
Yeah,
you do.
yeah. I think, yeah, and it'll be interesting to see because I think I'm going to in the next couple weeks get a lot of my time back as I bring on this guy who's going to work for me. And so, yeah, and the reason that I asked that is because I'm kind of at a point where I probably have, let's say, five of my clients paying the initial price, which was way too low, and it was a price that's like I want to make sure that I can pay my bills while I try to make this work. And a lot of those were from the beginning of this year, like I would say like December, January, February. And then I very quickly realized like, okay, that's not going to be sustainable. So I basically doubled it ish. And then I brought on probably about five more like that. And then I was like, okay, that's probably also not going to be sustainable if I want to like have one and I'm already thinking like, okay, what does it look like to have five? Because I think it's a decently good idea to have these things in mind, especially knowing that I don't want to be a one person agency forever. And so now I've basically 100 and or I've added probably 50% more to what I'm trying to get now per client, like as far as retainer goes. But I will, if I need to close a deal, I will drop it back down a little bit to get the business. So yeah, I think like in my head on a daily basis now, I'm trying to think like, okay, where do I really need to be to be able to bring on that next employee and that next employee and that next employee? Because right now I'm going to basically be giving one guy everybody. And so is there like a time where I need to hire a second one and then cut it in half and then cut it in thirds and fourths, or like how do you see like distributing workload as you scale?
That's a really, really good question. I think at our stage, and like even now, and especially at your stage, is like I feel this is my initial reaction is that you need to be very involved to know. Like you need to understand like where that time is being spent. And you can only do that by checking in with your team and like, hey, like, how are you tracking this month? Like, we've never, up until a week ago, we've never tracked hours. Never. We've just been very open and transparent. Like, hey, is everyone doing okay? Do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel like, are you, we can tell. Like, if people are sending emails like after hours or on the weekend, like, we immediately tell. So it's like very simple to us, like, when we need to have capacity or not, because it's been just like, raise your hand if you need help. Now we're getting a little bit more scientific about it in terms of our capacity, understanding how many hours are people actually spending versus how many they should be spending. And then how does that translate to like client profitability so that we can kind of reallocate resources and make sure that things are balanced in a good way. For you, I don't necessarily know if there's like a threshold. It's just more of a like, hey, like, okay, it's like a brick method. You lay the first brick as perfectly as you possibly can, and then you lay the next brick as perfectly as you possibly can, and then you lay the next brick until you possibly like you as perfectly as possible.
Hmm.
I think it's really just like for us, I always err on the side of like maxing out. Maxing out, and by maxing out, I mean like 60, 70 hours a week of my time personally. I'm not there anymore, but I was. And then I'm like, okay, now that I know that I can do things way faster than anybody else can, and I'm at 60 or 70 hours, that means to me that if I took out like those extra 20 hours and got me down back down to like 50 hours, right? I know that somebody should be able to manage that over the week because I could respectfully, I could do most jobs in half the time than anybody else just because I've been doing it for so long. So anyway, that's kind of the way I think about it is like once I start going over, I'm like, okay, me personally at your stage, I've been going over my hours like crazy, crazy, crazy. Now it's time to think about why can I get more efficient on my time or do I just need to hire somebody and offload that stuff? So I think of it more like when it happens, I cross that bridge when I get there rather than like trying to forecast it. It's more of a kind of an art than a science than at your stage right now and even ours.
Yeah. How do you feel about paying an employee a salary versus paying them per like job done?
We rarely do project-based payments. It's unless it's like something very specific, like, oh, we need this website built or this graphic done or this one-off thing. Most of our contractors are either hourly or retainer, and then our full-time employees are just salary. I think there's both. Like I've gone both sides. I thought salary was the only way, then I thought contractors were the only way, and now I feel like there's just a hybrid for us,
Hmm.
where I think the people that we bring on salary we will, for record, most of our employees will always start off as contractors. So we will pay you 30 days, 60 days or so as a contractor to make sure that you can assimilate and you can keep up with us.
Hmm.
It also makes firing way better because they're not
Yeah.
currently a full-time employee. Once you reach that point, if we want to convert you, whether it's 30 days or 45 days or 60 days, we just convert you over to salary and that's it. What I look for in salary people are people that first and foremost are reliable. Reliability is a commodity that I think is extraordinarily low. I have a very hard time like finding people who are consistently reliable. And maybe everyone has that problem, but here at our company, we've had reliability issues. And I mean that in the simple stuff like, hey, show up on time, join the calls, like respond to me when I Slack you. Like what I would consider absolute basic
Hmm.
reliability, we have an issue there. So you have to be reliable. You have to show me that you actually care about the business growth. So like coming to me with some sort of, hey, I really think they should be doing this, or hey, this client is like really struggling. Like we really need to like help. Like there needs to be something at some point during this process where they can uncover a business issue that I didn't see or they think I didn't see. Right. So they need to be thinking about the business similar, not like I do, because I'm a founder. I'm an equity holder. So you're never going to you have to make peace with the fact that no one will ever love your business as much as you do. And that was a hard thing for me to understand. But there are very specific things that qualities and attributes of a person that need to be built into the way that they think about the business. So you have to really find evangelists for your business that care. And we call it like very cliche, but like bleeding blue. Lockhern is blue and white, and we look for people who bleed blue. And it's very apparent to me who the people are that are willing to go that extra mile and be prepared and flag things when they're not going right. So that's important to us, and that's great. But those are the only people that make it to full time, and then the contractors are more just like bridge gaps. So they're stop gaps. They usually will help in the background for a certain period of time, and then we roll them off into a different project or entirely, and then we migrate it over to a full-time employee.
And you have everybody onshore?
95%. We have like one executive assistant that's offshore. I don't. Yeah, she's not even a full time. She's not somebody I counted. I think we actually have like 14 in terms of staff with contractors. So our FTEs are all onshore, which is a growing concern for a lot of people. We did try to build an offshore team that was an epic failure for us, really, really, really bad. And so now we just work with onshore talent, and I think a lot of our clients respond to that positively.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to like portray that narrative too of like, well, I have an offshore guy doing some of your stuff. But the reason that I am doing it like the reason that I'm giving somebody this work is so that I can be the guy that answers the phone when they call and have a question. And it's not going to be like they're doing stuff that I'm not going to know the answer to what's going on. So it'll be like basically what the offshore guy will be doing is looking at their rankings, analyzing that, and making a decision on the way that I do my local SEO. It's if they're not ranking well, it's one of two things. It's either they don't have enough topical relevance for the current target keyword, or they don't have enough geographical relevance for that current target keyword. And so we're either going to be creating topical relevance content, which is pages that increase the topical relevance, or we're going to be creating geographical relevance content, which is like, okay, we're ranking really well in like this area of Chicago, but like over by Wrigley Field, we're not. So we're going to make a roofing roofing repair near Wrigleyville or Wrigley Field, whatever. And like we know like that, sometimes people hit like grand slams and it lands on your roof and actually like dents your roof and whatever. And so we're like creating content that talks exactly about what a roof repair might entail in that area, telling Google that we are the person to call because we deal with this all the time in near Wrigley Field, stuff like that. So he would basically be creating those pages. For the time being, I'll be proofreading everything before it actually goes live on the site. And then he will send out an email. This was the ranking for the month. This is what I did to change that. Like, if it was bad, this is what I did to hopefully make it better before next month. Or if it was good, this is what I added anyway to maybe get that extra jump from second place to first place, whatever. And then I'll be CC'd on all that. And I would still be the main point of contact.
That makes sense to me. I would say that's somewhat how we handle it too. So the way that we kind of pitch it or frame it is like we're a founder-led company, which means that the founders are typically on almost every call, even if they're just shadowing, and we're also the point of contact or escalation. So we are in the room, we are available, we are listening. We might not always be the main point of contact, but we are there, and we established that very quickly on. As
Mm-hmm.
far as your situation, I think it's totally reasonable. I mean, the reality is like that's how you're able to offer a competitively priced service, is that you're able to do this, and I think that's fine, and people understand that. I
Mm-hmm.
think the way that I would definitely make sure it comes across with some of these people is like, you are the guy, you are the main POC, you work with me, but I have assistants, I have a network of assistants that come through and help me with getting execution. I have a growing business and I need to make sure that what I say gets delivered and executed against, and I can't do that all by myself. So I have people to help me, similar to just you. Most people that you're working with aren't just solopreneurs. They probably have a team that they delegate to. So
Mhm.
I don't think it's any different whether or not they're onshore or offshore. I wouldn't make that a big talking point unless they actually specifically ask. And then I would
Yeah,
just,
I don't plan on mentioning it.
and if they do bring it up, then great. Like just, yeah, I do. Yeah. What? It's your business. It's working. You're growing. Right. So there should be no issues on that. And I would assume, this is based on my expertise, that local business owners in like the local service area aren't even going to know or care about that. What they want to do is they really only care about results. And that's, if you can deliver that or even something close to it, they're not going to care how the work gets done. They don't care how the sausage is made. They just want the sausage.
Yeah, yeah. I really like. It made me happy to hear that you guys try to be on as many calls as you can, because that's like one of the main values that I want to push too for my agency is like I want you to always know what's going on, like as much as you can. So like if I have an initial kind of discovery meeting with somebody, I always try to first off do it in person if I can, because there's just we're losing human touch in 2026. Like I think everyone feels that. So I always try to meet in person, coffee, lunch, whatever. And one of the first things I say when I sit down with the potential client is, today I'm going to show you exactly what I do, how I do it, and I'm going to show you why it works. I'm going to show you all the metrics that I look at to that define success or not success, and what I would do in each situation to get that needle pointing in the right direction. And by the end, I would like you to be able to go and explain what I do, how I do, and why it works to someone else. Like that's the level of transparency that I want to have with my clients, because I feel like, and I can't speak to paid and paid social as much on this, but you can let me know kind of what your thought is on this. I feel like SEO in general as a service is so gate kept as to like how it's done, where or like they don't like to really, a lot of agencies don't like to explain like why something's not working or why it's taking so long. So a client would be like, okay, we were like ranked 20 when we started and we're still ranked 20. What's going on? And then the agency's like, oh, just be patient. SEO takes time. Whereas like if someone asks me that, I'm going to be like, well, this is what I have seen move. And like, I'm going to educate you on like, okay, well, we don't have enough backlinks yet, or like we're waiting on this stuff, or like it's a really hard keyword. Like maybe we need to change the keyword like that we're targeting, and stuff like that. Just to have them at least understand why it takes a long time, instead of just saying like, okay, just be patient. Just write us another check.
100%. I think a big part of our job is to educate and translate. It's not always about the delivery. In fact, our our like core ICP or ideal client profile is are people that want to learn, right? And they also understand, like they come from other agencies. I think that's one of the things that really kind of changed our like trajectory is, and this might be helpful for you or your listeners. If you are working with somebody that's never worked with an agency or a freelancer before, the expectations of what you do are undefined. You're setting the benchmark. And sometimes you can think, "Oh, what a great opportunity for me to show like this great use case or case study." What we found is it's actually the opposite effect. When somebody comes from a different agency and has exposure to a different freelancer or literally a bigger agency, and then we show them how we operate, the speed and the thoughtfulness and the way that we integrate, performance almost becomes irrelevant because they're working with somebody that they trust, that they're learning from, that they're getting actionable information from, that they're not going to sit on an hour-long call while we drone through a bunch of insights. We're going to tell them straight up, hey, client X, here are your 3 most critical things. 2 of them are on us, 1 of them is on you. And you have to be able to push through those roadblocks for us, right? And here's what we think's going on. Here's this new change is going to put us into, right? Those types of things, so that they can go back, because most of the people, unless you're working with direct founders, which is also a huge benefit, but if you're working with a bigger company, you need to remember that although they might be the person you're reporting to, they are reporting to somebody else. So you need to be able to make them look as good as possible, or at least confident in their ability to course correct. So a lot of the stuff that we do is not just the execution, but our roles as leaders and main POCs in some cases is to really calmly and clearly explain what it is we effing do. Because
Hmm.
a lot of stuff gets lost in translation. It's extremely technical at some cases, right? And you have to be able to really package this up in a way that's going to be transferable throughout their network or at least into them themselves. So I totally understand where you're coming from. I think that was a huge learning point, and for us was like I was very used to like these boardroom CMOs, and then I had to take that mind frame and then apply it to somebody who like owns like a mom and pop roofing business. Nothing wrong with that. It's just I have to completely change the way that I speak and the things that I'm saying to resonate with that person. And the last thing that I'll say is one thing I'd like to think I'm really good at is understanding when I need to pause and check in with them and say,
Hmm.
hey, if I go on a 5 minute spiel like I'm going on right now, I might pause and say, Tyler, I just want to make sure. Are you tracking so far on everything that I'm saying? I know it was very technical and maybe really specific. Was there anything that you wanted me to clarify before I move forward? Creating those pauses and creating that opportunity to create a conversation is so much better because early on in my career, I thought a good call was when I got through all my talking points. There was no questions, and I got off. And then I lose a client 3 months later because they have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Now we're developing a relationship, rapport, a trust. People need to feel safe. And a lot of
Hmm.
times with digital, people don't feel safe on that because they don't know and they don't want to act like they don't know. So it's always giving them an opportunity to come on board, come in, like, let me put my arm around you and walk you through this makes them feel a lot better and that they can feel more comfortable asking you questions, even if they feel like they should know that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That's so funny that you just said that because one of the main things that I ask my clients when I'm talking is, does that make sense? Because I want to make sure that they're on the same page as me. Because and you'll see it too sometimes. Like we get passionate, right, as marketers, and we start talking about whatever, and then you see them kind of go like, you're like, okay, I think I lost you. Like, where are we at? And yeah, being able to provide that clarity, like in, and we can't be using like our crazy jargon, like all the marketing stuff. We have to talk on that level of like, this person does not know this, or they wouldn't be hiring me, right? So yeah, it's always good to check in, like you said, and I could maybe even spruce that up a little bit to something like you said. Like, I know that everything I just said is probably complicated. I just want to make sure that we're good. But I think I ask, does that make sense? Like probably every 30 seconds in a meeting where I'm like explaining stuff, and it's like, because no, they've never heard of geographical relevance.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, geographical relevance is this, this, and this. This is why it matters. Does that make sense? Yeah, cool, awesome. So yeah, that's really cool. So like as far as paid traffic, are you guys doing mostly like Meta, Google, or a mix of everything?
Mostly Google, paid search, so
Really?
Microsoft and Google.
Microsoft. Okay. What does Microsoft offer?
Bing.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
so Bing ads. So like you would you go to Bing.com and search stuff there. Same. It's a carbon copy of Google,
Right.
but talking about 10% market share, which is not nothing, in total amount of searches that happen. And those are also important areas to be cued into because although they might not drive the highest amount of volume by any means, it's good to have presence there. And there are ongoing integrations with other LLMs such as Chat GPT. Microsoft has made a vested interest in Chat GPT, et cetera. And a lot of those, settings and things that we're doing to optimize Bing get pseudo translated into LLMs. So we are huge proponents of the search. We're the search everywhere agency, right? So we think about search. We don't
Hmm.
really care if you're coming from Bing, Google, YouTube, whatever. We just want to make sure that you show up when people are thinking about, whatever product or service this person, our clients offer. So we don't discriminate on platforms. We just test, and if the budget is there, we'll roll it out.
Yeah. Do you think that there's a strong gap in Bing that people aren't taking advantage of, where that 10% may be worth as much or more than the same investment in Google?
There are some very specific industries that we've uncovered that Bing absolutely crushes in. And I can't disclose them, but they
I
are
was gonna
just
say, care to elaborate?
they're extraordinarily great. They're not what you'd think. I can
Mm-hmm.
tell you that their Bing naturally skews a bit older and a little bit more. Let's put it this way: the high vertical, that like the high category, is this like industrial category, and our pure speculation is on some of these categories that we've run in is that these work computers have Edge installed, which therefore has Bing as the default, and they're using them without any, you know, willingness to change browser.
Mm-hmm.
So they were capturing all of this like natural like B2B intent because these businesses are going out, looking for, industrial parts or whatever they might be, or
Mm-hmm.
services. So that's just one example, but there are other areas. But if you're selling dog toys, no, we don't typically see the highest amount of volume come through Bing on dog toys because most
Mm-hmm.
people that are buying dog toys are on the phone or they're whatever. It's an e-commerce product. So there are just these very specific nuances and like instances where we're like, holy cow, Bing is absolutely killing it. And then just
Right.
as another talking point, CPCs in Bing are typically much lower just because the competition is
Right.
naturally lower because everything's auction based with search. So that's just another way to kind of like capture like more efficient demand. It's a check the box in most of the situations. It's just like we don't ever want to get caught like with a CMO coming back and like saying, "Oh, like I see we're on Google. Why aren't we on Bing?" It's like, well, we better have a reason, right? Because if we're not, at the very, very least, we should have like a brand campaign set up or a shopping campaign or something that's just like very basic. Doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
be as robust as Google, but we have to be able to say, yes, we are on Bing so that we can at least hedge there.
Yeah. Something that I found interesting recently is that some of my personal sites, like personal ventures, and then also some of my client sites are crushing on DuckDuckGo, like
Yeah.
more than Google, more than Bing. And
Oh,
people
yeah,
are
that's
like,
also so DuckDuckGo is powered by Microsoft. So that's a search partner, and you can get access to DuckDuckGo ads. Well, I know you're talking about organic. I'm talking about the paid side. The paid side of DuckDuckGo is served through Microsoft Network, and every time that we run a network like placement report, which will show you, okay, in addition to just Bing.com, here's all the other places. Like I could DuckDuckGo is one, but there's like Ecosia and there's like I'll make this one up like Alta Vista for those who are older than 35, which is the old search engine. Anyway, we're able to see, oh wow, there's like a lot of volume coming from DuckDuckGo, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Number one, I think that's just like a whole different can of worms, but I think privacy-centric search engines are continually growing in popularity. DuckDuckGo being basically the biggest one, and definitely don't want to get political by any means, but there are proven cases where Google and Microsoft might suppress certain types of organic
yeah,
content depending on what you're looking for. I think that was very evident throughout a lot of the investigations that I've read. So I think there is a natural kind of there's a human like this innate thing that you want to go for truth, and I think in some cases people look at like Google or Bing might not necessarily be a trusted source, so DuckDuckGo grows because based on the way that their algorithm works or the way that they say it, it's not censored by any means. So it doesn't surprise me that you guys are seeing growth there and that a lot of people are starting to migrate over to some privacy centric like DuckDuckGo.
yeah, it'll be really interesting to see where it goes from here. I remembered what I wanted to talk about, and I'll tie back into it by obviously you guys are trying to show up everywhere, and there are more than just online ways to show up everywhere, and those non-online ways affect the online ways, especially when it comes to organic. And so I'll now tie back. You said that there's always parts that you give to the client where it's like this is like your responsibility, and I definitely have some of those things at Hennhouse where I'm like, you can do this and it will definitely help. And if you don't do it, like don't come ask me like in a couple months, like why is it taking so long? It's like, well, you could have been doing all these things that I recommended that like are not part of my service, but are part of my consultation of wanting you to succeed as a business. And like one of our main mantras is like you got to tell people about who you are and what you do in as many ways as you possibly can because everybody's going to ingest different channels. So there's like, I mean, direct mail, there's depending on what service you offer, there's knocking doors, there's I mean, sponsoring events is a huge one. Buying backlinks can help too. And so like one thing that I've been trying to get people to do recently is like sponsoring local events, because not only does it give you an opportunity to support something that you believe in. So like Hennhouse sponsored recently a pickleball tournament that was for a couple people that are in my local networking groups who I really, really like what they do. One of them is the Isaiah 61-1 project, and it's a guy named Lloyd Johnston, and he works with our county, the neighboring county jail, with inmates, and it's kind of like ministry services, but they also will have like classes that basically help you not go back to jail after you get out. Like, what kind of personality do you have? What jobs are you now allowed to get that you know made this mistake? Like, and just other companies in the area contributing to like better our society. And like the whole overarching thing too is like, well, these people are going to come back into the public. Wouldn't you want them to come out better and changed and with a willingness to improve their lives and those around them? So I thought it was super cool, and I sponsored it, and got a little bit of press out of it, and like, okay, Hennhouse sponsors this thing, thanks Hennhouse. But at the same time, it's like I got to contribute to something that I believe in. So it kind of gives you an opportunity to not only up your SEO and get some potential press and social media shout outs and all that stuff, which like we kind of talked about before the call or before the podcast started. All that stuff compounds, even if it's a little bit. And so it gives these clients also an opportunity to like, what is something that you really believe in? Go find someone doing that in our community and contribute to that. And it's a win-win. Like, you get to help with something that you believe in. You also get to increase, like, you might jump up your rankings a bunch. Joining the local chambers, like, my what I charge doesn't budget for joining all the chambers for you. So like you got to go do that. And the difference between not joining any of those and joining every single chamber within a 70 or 80-mile radius could be literally the difference between you being on page 4 and you being number 1. Like, it's that serious. And I tell people that all the time. They're like, "Well, it's not in the budget." I'm like, "All right, well, give me, give me a couple months. Like, you know what I'm doing." But like posting on social media, all these things add up. And so there is kind of that level, like you said, of like, hey, this is like the third part of how all this stuff works. If you want to do it, it's going to help. If you don't want to do it, like, that's where we're at.
Couldn't agree more. First of all, very admirable to put together something like that from Hennhouse. Second is like, yeah, I think collaboration is king. We say that on a lot of our pitches. Is one of the things that my co-founder says a lot is our worst clients are the ones that sign up and then disappear for 3 months. You have to be a part of the process. We're experts in our business, but you're experts in yours. So the only way that we're going to work is if we work together. Your experience plus our skill set is going to be how we win and how we differentiate. That's just kind of like, otherwise we're just going to do what we think is right, which might not be completely right. So I think that's a place where we really emphasize, and we have to essentially be babysitters as well for our clients. And especially in local service, I found that that's very common because they're naturally busy. Usually they're
Mm-hmm.
also taking service calls and answering the phones and support and all sorts of stuff outside of just the marketing stuff. They really want what they really want is a done for you service so that they don't do anything, but that's just not how it works. And maybe some people have figured that out, but I don't. I think the hybrid approach is far more compelling and better long term.
And one of the things that I'm really trying to do now is like practice what I preach, because I was telling people for a very long time, like, oh, start a podcast, start a podcast. Because the thing about podcasts is, especially if you put it on YouTube, Gemini has access to all those transcripts. So if you put up like 100 episodes, it has 100 episodes, maybe anywhere from 1 to 300 hours, depending on how long it is, of you talking like a real person and saying, and like in 2026, with all the AI slop that's getting put out, I think people are going to long for, and Google's algorithm is going to long for people actually talking about real stuff and not typing into Chat GPT like, I want to make a page about this, make it please. And then it just like, it Googles and goes and finds other websites stuff and just like shoves it together and gives it to you. So like you and I right now, to I mean, we're regurgitating stuff that we've learned over time and that we've probably read on Google and stuff, but we're giving our unique takes on it. And that is what Google is going to rank over time from now on, is unique takes and original information. And so I'm trying to do as much of that as I can. Like I'm repurposing a lot of the transcripts into short form content, like written content for LinkedIn, Facebook, and all that kind of stuff, instead of just asking Claude to make me a bunch of posts. Like it's actually stuff that me and my guests have said that is a lot more original than anything that ChatGPT and Claude can come up with. And so I kind of am doing it with Hennhouse as a case study of like, okay, I know I told you to do this 6 months ago and you haven't done a single thing. Like, here's what I did it at my company, and look at this graph. Boom, like it's exploded. Do you trust me now? Like, can you do it? And so it's been really interesting, and I've found that it doesn't take nearly as much time as I thought it would, especially with a program like Riverside. Like this will literally be edited, and I should have an affiliate link for Riverside because I talk about it every episode. But like, it will be edited and scheduled probably 15 minutes after we get off. It's that good with short form content already created. Like
Oh, that's awesome.
it's so good. I may have to go in and like cut little things out. Like it'll add like a little blip at the beginning or the end where I'm like, okay, chop it back a little bit. But it basically gives me probably 10 short form things, and I pick six, and then I'm good to go. Then I make some short form content based off of this too. And that's my content strategy for online. I'm
Awesome.
posting three times a day right now, and it takes me, not including the podcast, maybe an hour and a half a week.
That's terrific.
Yeah. So it all adds up. That's really what I'm trying to push, and that's the way that search is going. It's going towards, like, I know I keep mentioning backlinks, and they still do matter. Like if I got to do follow backlink from Forbes right now, it would probably change my life. But brand mentions in general, like Instagram posts, just other websites, even writing the name of your company, that's where we're headed, because that's the way that AI understands. And like in a couple years, Google, the search results page probably will be AI mode or something similar. Like they're working it out right now, seeing what people like, but that's where we're headed, right?
I agree. 100%.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm trying to do also. And the other cool thing too is that Google Search Console just added, I don't know if you've seen this, you can now add your YouTube channel, your X
Yes,
channel, your TikTok, and your Instagram,
that's
and
right.
you can see if any of your posts are ranking. And so one thing that I'm trying to do also when I create the short form content is to make the first couple words of that the target keyword. So like the post of a YouTube short where I'm talking about how to get more Google reviews, the first thing of the title will be how do I get more Google reviews, or how to get more Google reviews. And I've seen that my posts are ranking. And it's also a good indicator of like, okay, this is getting a lot of impressions. Maybe I should make more content talking about that.
100%.
And it also just shows like what people are wanting to see when they search something. Like you used to maybe want to Google like what is deep dish pizza, and land on a blog with like 87,000 ads on it that like you can barely read. But now people want to watch a TikTok of like someone cutting into the pizza and showing it and then talking about it there, because we need that dopamine, right?
Sure.
And so we have literally, I think like 4 to 6 out of 10 of the search results on more informational queries now are UGC. So like Reddit, YouTube, TikTok, X,
Totally.
LinkedIn, all that good stuff. So it's really important to be on all those things.
Agreed. 100%. And we are migrating to that as well, that kind of
Yeah.
mentality.
Yeah, that was my next question, is like, what are you guys doing as far as that goes on like SEO, on paid, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think we're thinking about it very much like an ecosystem. So, what I don't want to do from Lockhern as a branding perspective is I don't want to tell everybody that we are everything, but we are the search everywhere. So when we talk about search, like we are search everywhere. So anywhere you can search, we will manage that media for you. So that's important to us. That keeps it very focused, but as more people and more channels are becoming more popular, and I think Reddit is a good example where people are searching for stuff and joining subreddits and communities. People are searching for certain stuff. We have to be able to deliver on that promise. So we're definitely bolting on new channels as we find them to be of value to our clients. And we also are starting to offer some organic posting, some social posting. But this is all crawl, walk, run type of things. Like we really go slow. One thing as an agency owner, we've made mistakes are we're just going like too fast into new channels that we don't know. And that creates a lack of trust and instability in the channels that you don't know. And then therefore puts your channels that you do know at risk. And we've had that happen many times early on. So we have been very, very, very careful to make sure that we have the right team and the right channels at the right time. So that would be my other agency level perspective as well. But yeah, totally hear you. I think it's any annotations, any citations anywhere, whether it's YouTube or backlinks or social posts, anything at all is used as a substantial ranking factor now and will be over time. So many ways it hasn't changed. That hasn't changed, but it's changing the amount of ways that Google can assign some sort of ranking to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one really cool thing that I think about a lot that I'm trying to explain to my customers also is like we're gonna get to a world where the search results are gonna be hyper personalized. So like you, Arik, let's say that you drive a Porsche and you're in like a Porsche car meeting club that goes out and drives up and down the mountain every Saturday. And then a tree falls through your roof and cuts your roof in half. And you say like you go on Chat GPT and you're like, oh my gosh, the tree just cut my roof in half. Like, who do I call? I need somebody here right now. Whatever. Like my kids are screaming. And Chat GPT then goes and looks at all the roofing companies in the area and finds a guy who has a GT4 RS, the owner, and is in the adjacent club the next town over. And it's like, okay, the owner of this company also really likes Porsches. And you're like, oh, that's cool. Done. Like we're going to reach a point where the quality of the work, and you kind of mentioned this earlier, the quality of the work will be an afterthought, and the relationship that you can have with that person is going to be the focus.
Totally.
And so that was obviously a very extreme example, but like our LLMs and all the agents that we're using like in this modern world are going to find those common grounds that go beyond just the scope and quality of the services offered.
I completely agree.
So it's going to be really interesting, and I'm trying to pull as much information out of the human being that owns the company when I create the content on the pages to kind of put that thing in, like, where did you come from? What do you like to do in your free time? Tell us about your family if you're comfortable sharing that. Stuff like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT will find that stuff later on and be like, oh, they have three boys, you have three boys, and everyone likes to go fishing. Like, that stuff's gonna add up. I wanted to ask you too, have you guys tried the ChatGPT ads?
Yep.
How's it going?
We've had interesting levels of success.
Mm-hmm.
Some clients have been not happy with it. Some clients have been happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
My overall take is I think it's just still very early on.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're looking, my hot take is if you're looking for immediate performance out of ChatGPT ads, I wouldn't suggest it. And I'm not sure I would suggest it ever. I think that you need to use higher level KPIs, meaning like upper funnel KPIs to value it.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I've found as of right now, first of all, we're still talking about a relatively small market share in terms of search compared to like Google. It's still like,
Mm-hmm.
Google's still like wildly bigger, but there's obviously a hockey stick growth coming from ChatGPT. So what we've noticed is that when people are searching, we believe it's our perspective that people are using ChatGPT as a research, not a buying tool. What I think is people are using it, they come up with a thought, oh, I need to clean my gutters. What is the best tool to clean gutters, right? And maybe the ChatGPT gives you an example and they give you some suggestions. Okay. What I think most people are doing is getting a general sense of what do I need to be thinking about? What are the types of products and what are the types of brands I should be considering? But generally speaking, I don't think that person is ready to buy at the moment. I think that these are far more like
Mm-hmm.
conversational, more like, let's just get something started here. I would prefer to talk to ChatGPT about some of the major, like the nuances between myself or my need versus what is out there, because I think that's what it does a better job at. But I think ultimately, once they get a better sense of it, they go off ChatGPT and then buy through a different medium. That's my thought right now. ChatGPT is
Yeah.
a walled garden at the moment, so it's
Mm-hmm.
impossible to really determine that at the moment. But that is what I believe right now, but I could be totally wrong.
Yeah. No, I think that's a pretty fair assessment. I was blessed to have one client let me use their money to test them, and so it was an interesting time. It was actually a roofing company, and it didn't go good. And what I what I didn't realize, I actually just paused him yesterday because I was like, this is not going anywhere. We were like getting clicks, and then like the user wasn't even landing on the landing page. Like they weren't making it that far, so they were somehow leaving before the landing page even registered. Like in my other
Mm,
attribution tracking tools and stuff. So like we couldn't even watch the sessions in post hog to see like where's the disconnect.
yeah. Yep.
And what I didn't realize too, because the user experience of it is pretty bad, and they have added a couple extra things since I started testing them, but I was targeting the whole United States, and I wasn't charging targeting the state of Georgia. And so I was like jumping up and down, and I called my client and was like, "We got our first ChatGPT lead," and I sent him the info without like looking at it too much, and he texted me back and he was like, "This guy's in Massachusetts. We're in Georgia." I'm like, "Cool,
Yeah.
okay." So then I was like, "Okay, well let's like try to hone in more on the context hints." Because from what I understand, the way that ChatGPT ads work is it will only recommend you if it feels that the person needs to be recommended your service based on the context of the conversation. But also, and this is from a HubSpot video that I watched of a guy talking about it a couple months ago, it won't show your ad if it wouldn't recommend you organically in that situation, which is a really cool advantage to have if you could get it to like recommend you people in your state. So I did find out that you can pick a state. It makes it so unobvious. And I think probably home services aren't a great thing. Like you said, we have to make sure that we're satisfying the level of the funnel that they're in, right? Top, middle, or bottom.
Hmm.
And somebody asking how much a roof costs to replace doesn't necessarily want a roofer. They might just be curious. And so showing them an ad there and having them click that ad's a waste of time and money.
Possibly. We're very limited in what we can target right now, so you don't really understand the full like contextual intent there. So I
Mhm.
think that will develop over time. I hope is somebody who's like either in market or out of market, or like maybe there's like a phased approach, like people who are looking to buy. Like they should be able to contextually like figure out, okay, this person is like has been researching for 3 days now, and whatever they're in market, they're really looking for like these people. Do you only want to target people who are in super in market? Or do you want to target like everybody like just like starting their research? Maybe they're just like they're at their early journey. Like, they could have like a journey kind of like report maybe and just like understand like, okay, well, we've spent 50% of our budget on people who aren't even close. And we've spent 5% of our budget who are really, really close.
Mhm.
And maybe we can look at the segmentation there. There has to be, I believe, something deeper that they're going to be able to provide us at some point as marketers so that we can allocate the budget differently and then make the sell. Because the sell is easy. It's like, hey, do you want to show up when people are started? Like, do you want to be part of that conversation or do you not? Like, if you don't want to be, totally fine. We can just target these like really low funnel, but the trade-off is that you're going to pay way more for those individuals because your CPMs or CPCs
Mhm.
are going to be, 10x what they are this phase.
Yeah.
So like, I think that that's where it's going to go. That's total speculation, but totally agreed with you. Love ChatGPT ads. I think they're great, but I think that they're more like closer to awareness than they are performance at the moment.
Yeah. And they did just add 2 weeks ago, like audience. So I think it can at least attempt to optimize on your conversion goal now, which
Right.
I can't even get like the conversion goals to actually show up. Like I've had 2 lead forms submitted and it still shows 0 leads of all time. And I've like
Perfect.
tried, it's like have Codex fix this, and I have Codex fix it. And then I try to fix it myself and all this stuff, and it's not working. So there's definitely some work to do, but there's like massive potential for a company that understands exactly what somebody needs to be recommending the right thing. But yeah, we're definitely early. So
Totally.
we'll see how it goes. I want to go back really quick because you kind of mentioned like different stages of the funnel. How do you decide which parts to like offer creatives for, of like, okay, this campaign will be just awareness, and this campaign will be leads, this campaign will be like instant conversions, stuff like that? How do you like decide what goals are going to be a part of the overarching paid campaign
Sure.
for any given client?
Yeah. So is this specifically for like search
But yeah,
or just in
search.
general?
Sure. Yeah, in general.
Okay. Well, I think in my experience, I feel like I've seen people like clients be way more open to awareness channels as of recently. over the last year or so, they've been way more open to that idea versus just performance based, meaning like low funnel people like whatever, roofer near me or roofer deck today or something. I don't know.
Hmm.
I think that there's a layer of strategy that you kind of have to educate your client on and be like, look, we'll take a roof example. That's usually like once a lifetime buy, right? Usually
Hmm.
30 to 50 years. I just actually just bought a new roof. It hasn't been installed
Hmm.
yet, but it's like very expensive.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's a 50-year roof. So I assume, I mean, I'm 37, so I don't know if I'll be living here at 87. I don't think so. But at any rate, you have to think about, well, there's this whole bunch of people that are not in market now, but will be in market. And when they start looking, they want to have a name that they recognize. That's been consistent. So they've been around for so long. Like this isn't a fly-by-night roofing company. They either did the billboards or they've done the digital or they've, I saw a YouTube ad or something like that. Like they've been in my, my mind, so to speak, subconsciously. So I think the pitch is like, look, this isn't going to necessarily drive you performance today, but over time, those views turn into lifetime value. Now, in terms of how we calculate that out and what percentages, that's nuance. Always, always nuance. I've seen people who are way heavier on awareness and way less on performance, and most of them are way more on performance and less on awareness. Generally speaking, this is like off the cuff, it's like 20% of the budget, 15 to 20% of the budget goes to awareness. That's like a healthy budget. We've seen as low as like 5 to 10, but 15 to 20% of your budget going to awareness. And in my world, awareness is like more like social, YouTube, those types of things, or, you know, even like early on issues for roofing, like, why is my roof leaking? Now, if somebody types that in, that doesn't necessarily mean that they want a new roof. It means that they're trying to fix something, but there's somebody that might need a new roof. And if they might need a new roof, do you want to show up and do you want to drive that to maybe a piece of content or something that you wrote that says, well, your roof's leaking? Well, here's the first few things that you need to check. Like, have you gone to your attic? Have you inspected the roof? Is it dripping? Is the ceiling off colored? Is it anywhere else? I don't know. I'm just saying, like, here's how you diagnose that, branded by XYZ Roofing Co. And then, at the end of that, it's like a little pop up or something that says, like, hey, need additional help? Give us a call. Right? And maybe you don't get any calls. Maybe you do. Maybe you get an email submit, or I don't know what you get. Maybe a phone number. But the idea is to be there as a helpful, utility, trusted source of information so that when the time does come, they come to you. So I think that that's the way I think about branding and awareness. And as long as the client can understand that and is willing to burn, essentially, some cash on that,
Hmm.
then everyone's happy and we can just report on the KPIs that matter for that particular campaign.
Yeah. But then you know what's funny? So like an awareness campaign like that might not generate any revenue, but then you have people who click on one of your like bottom funnel ads like emergency roof repair 24/7, and they click on that and fill it out, and then you go out and do the repair and they're like, "Yeah, I see you guys everywhere."
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the point. Exactly
Yeah.
right. It's a
Yeah.
subconscious thing, or like, oh, I recognize this brand. I wanted to go through these guys. I've seen them everywhere, or whatever. As it turns out, marketing works. Awareness does work.
Yeah, go figure, right?
You know, it's just a matter of like, I think, especially for like paid search people who are like just really bogged down on the performance side, like how many clicks, what's the conversion rate, what's the CPL, what's the CPCs. That's that's an easy thing to say. Oh well, hey, here's your direct ROI versus hey, here's what your awareness did. There's obviously no leads attached to this, but you got this many impressions or this many people, right? There's definitely better ways now more than ever to like evaluate your the overall halo effect of an awareness campaign, but it's still like new. And for clients that don't have big budgets, that's tough. It's tough to justify 20% of your budget to go into something that might not necessarily net you stuff today.
Hmm. And it's just how you frame it too, right? It's like it's that education up front where it's like if you say, yeah, we're gonna burn 20% of your budget, then they're gonna be like, well, I don't want to do that. But if it's like we're gonna use 20% of this budget and here's what the projected like here's the reason that we're doing that, and they're like, oh, that makes sense. So a
100%.
lot of it's just that communication up front. what is one marketing tactic that you think is underrated?
Well, I think there's a few. I really think in-person networking, like you said, is very underrated. I think some people overrate it. I think it's underrated. I'm a person. I like to shake hands. I'm
Hmm.
not super extroverted, but like when it comes to like professional networking, I like to get in there and shake some hands, meet some people, and get to know them.
Hmm.
I think that's good. And you can offer your services, whether that's a new product, put it in someone's hands, or a new service. I think that's just like important. Like it depends on like your whatever you're selling. Like services is like different, but if you have like a product, I think underrated marketing is like physically shipping products. I think for some reason, like at no cost, like literally giving some sort of sample or something in person to your target market is wildly underrated. And I had a conversation with somebody who started this like very cool, like it's like kind of like a game. It's like a little bit of a something for generally elderly people to play with as their cognitive declines. They kind of like, it's like this bunch of like little letters on blocks and they can kind of rearrange, almost think of it like a Scrabble. They can just kind of make words out of it, right? And it's just a bunch of random letters. Anyway, the point is one thing that I thought they didn't. I don't think they did this, but one thing I suggested to them, I was like, look, in some cases, you might pay $5 a click for for somebody who might be interested in your product, right? I was like, what does it cost you to make this? Right? They're like, I don't know, like $3. I'm like, okay. So you might pay more for a single click than it is to make this actually thing. So like if you just took some basic postage and added another $5 on top of that, right? Now you do a list and curate all of these individuals that might be like these elderly care places, send them a package and just say, this is something, just feel free to use it. Let us know if you have it, your QR code link on the whatever, support, whatever it is, send us a picture, whatever it might be. Now you've put real product into real people's hands and you probably used your ROI on that will likely be much higher than a $5 click. So I think
Hmm.
there's a 100% like there's just like it's always nuanced depending on your business. But I think getting people to actually use or get to know you is like super underrated. I think
Yeah.
that's just super important.
Yeah, and it's crazy. So, like, as I'm transitioning to kind of delegating some of the busier work, I'm trying to go to at least three networking meetings per week, and it's probably, I would say, typically four or five actually, but three minimum.
Sure.
And the way that all this started is like in January or February, I joined a Facebook group in one of my local counties that has 150,000 people in this Facebook group. And you can basically post and promote your business in there if you pay $25 a month. I was like, cool, $25 to make a post, whatever. And so I go in there, say, hey, I'm Hennhouse. I do all this stuff, and let me know if I can help you. And I got from there my first customer, who now refers me like she is a kind of business growth specialist who does a lot of bookkeeping and handles the numbers.
Awesome.
And she has referred me like six clients. Like it's insane.
That's great. Those are the best.
Yeah, yeah. And then on top of that, that group has an event every month called Caffeinate and Connect, where basically the creator of the group covers the tab of a local coffee house for like 2 hours, and anyone who's in the group can go and network. So I went to that in like February, and I met a guy there who invited me to a networking group where I've gotten like basically almost the other half of my customers. Where then in that network group, I met a guy who's invited me to all these other networking groups where like I've gotten a bunch of my podcast guests, where I've gotten even more clients. And so it's like joining one group and meeting one person has basically almost built Hennhouse to what it is today. And so it's like just getting out there and meeting people. You can meet one person that changes your life. It's
I
pretty
have.
wild.
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my wife is one.
There you go. Yeah. Mine too. Yeah. One more. What do you think is one that's overrated? Do you have one?
Overrated marketing?
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Generally, I'm trying to think of all the things that I've tried and that like just has consistently failed. I think no, I don't have one, honestly. I feel like I think all right, this is my hot take, but I'm not this isn't my expertise.
Hmm.
I think TikTok's wildly overrated. I think that people use that, like at least from a performance standpoint. I've yet to see it work really
Hmm.
on some of our clients. I know for a fact that there are tons of clients that do really well on it, especially on like TikTok Shop. But generally speaking, I just don't think it's like a turn it on. It's not like in my opinion, it's not like a Facebook where you just turn it on all of a sudden you're getting like generating all this revenue.
Yeah.
And I've seen Facebook do that for a lot of clients. So I would say at this stage, I think TikTok is overrated, but I do think it's a great awareness channel. It definitely has
Yeah.
the reach and
Mhm.
the audience. So that'd
Yeah.
be
I
my
think TikTok probably has the highest potential to go viral.
certainly. And I think when I think marketing channel, I think about paid, but it is a marketing channel. So like you can
Hmm.
organically it's probably extremely good. But again, I don't really deal with that. So that's from a performance like paid media standpoint. Yeah, I think it's overrated.
Yeah. All right. And last question. If you had to rebuild Lockhern Digital from zero today, what would you do differently?
So I think respectfully, I think like those questions are like tough to answer. Like even like if you were to be 5 years old again, like what would you do? Or 10 years old again?
Hmm.
I think maybe this isn't the answer you're looking for. I'm really happy with like the good and the bad and the ugly that I've experienced because that's just part of the journey. And I don't know if I would ever like change anything fundamentally. I think this is like whatever happens is supposed to happen, and you just kind of handle it. Makes you better, stronger. Sometimes you just get lucky. Sometimes you get unlucky, and I
Hmm.
think that's just part of it. So I don't think there's like necessarily like one thing I would change. If you really press me on it, it's like, well, what if you had to gun to your head? There's been some significant changes that we made. I think being able, I think the biggest thing that I would have probably tried to stop earlier on is I think my ego. I think I would have checked my ego a bit more. I'm not afraid. I'm like not ashamed to think that sometimes, especially earlier on, I felt like, and I think my co-founders know this, so I'm not saying anything they wouldn't know. I felt like I was the smartest guy in the room, and that blinded me from a number of things. Number one, it made me incredibly difficult to work with because I thought I was always right. And number two, it also, more importantly, shielded me from a lot of different perspectives and opportunities that I probably should have acted on sooner. But for one reason or another, I think I let my ego cloud that and like, oh, I know what I'm doing. You don't know what you're doing. I'm smarter than you.
Hmm.
And I feel a little bit remorseful for that. And I think I would have liked to cut that piece out or at least like truncate how long I did that for. I think probably a good 2 or 3 years of me just really like kind of dying on hills that didn't need to be died on. So
Hmm.
anyway, that would be my answer to you. I think ego can get in the way. I'm not afraid to say that.
I agree. It's something I'm working on right now too. Awesome. Aric, where can people find you if they want to work with you?
I pepper in some LinkedIn posts so you can see me on there. I'd love to connect with you or anybody that's in marketing or anything. But lockherndigital.com is our website and you can contact us from there. But other than that, I'm pretty easy to find.
Awesome. And again, I'm Tyler Henn. I own Hennhouse Digital Growth Studio, and we mostly specialize working with local service-based businesses who want to show up more in local search results. And we kind of try to encompass all the things that we discussed today, like doing a little bit more of everything to kind of appease the AI world that's kind of taking over and deciding who gets shown. So that's what we do. You can find us at www. Aric, thank you again so much, and we will see you guys in episode 10 next week.
Thanks, Doc.